Rebecca say not to swear. Okay. So, we are online, Vince.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. I should have shaved, shouldn't I?
Okay. Yeah. Well, why can't I hear you now?
Me? I'm not saying anything.
Okay. Could you speak?
I speak.
No. Okay. So, it seems that I can't have both. That's the thing. Okay. But I can hear you. Yeah. Okay. For the start of the service, you can just switch off your camera, and then I will call you. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Good. Okay. See you later.
Yep.
Good. Okay, Rebecca, can you hear me? Okay. Can you tell me if you can hear me? Good. Très bien. Merci, Rebecca. Okay, we're going to wait a few minutes. I don't know who is there yet, but our Simchat Torah service will start in about 8 minutes. So the Sero's heart is just for outside, Rebecca. Okay, I'll see you in a second. Okay. Okay, whilst we're waiting, I'm going to read a few texts that we can find in the Reform Machzor about the Shalosh Regalim, a few texts about Shmini Atzeret Simchat Torah. We still have a few minutes, so just to make you wait and not be bored. So Simchat Torah, there is it's not in the Torah. There is one mention of Shmini Atzeret in Numbers 29, verse 35. On the 8th day you shall hold a festival gathering, Shmini Atzeret. You shall not do your regular work. So that's the first mention of Shmini Atzeret, which became later on Shmini Atzeret was followed in the Middle Ages by Simchat Torah. We do Shmini Atzeret Simchat Torah the same day as it's the custom in Israel, and more traditional Jews celebrate 2 days of festival. Said Rabbi Elazar, on Sukkot in temple times, 70 bullocks were sacrificed. But on Shmini Atzeret, the festival day after the end of Sukkot, just one was sacrificed. Rabbi Elazar said, for whom were the 70 bullocks sacrificed? On behalf of all the 70 nations of the world. For whom were the single bullock sacrificed? For the one nation, Israel. It is like a king of flesh and blood who said to his servants, prepare for me a great banquet. But on the last day he said to his special friend, prepare for me a private banquet so that I can enjoy your company alone. So in the Talmud, because this passage is taken from Sukkah 55b, Tractate Sukkah 55b, actually, we don't know what Shmini Atzeret was about. It's the end of the festival of Sukkot. It closes the week of Sukkot. As I will tell you later, there were additional customs that were added later on to this festival, especially something related to water. But I'm not going to tell you more about it because I want to keep a bit of mystery for for the service today. So Shmini Atzeret Simchat Torah is a double festival that we celebrate on one day, and some celebrate 2 days. Okay, so Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach. I'm going to put my book back. Chag Sameach to you all. I hope you had a good week at Sukkot. Of course, it's one of this time of the year where we all come together under the Sukkah and on Simchat Torah to dance with the Torah scrolls. And this year, we couldn't do that. So I have a video for you later that was prepared by NPLS, which shows how the scroll is rolled back from the end of Deuteronomy to the beginning of Genesis. So we'll see this later together. So we still have a sense of the Torah scroll being rolled back. So this will be a bit later during the service. So I can see that Jackie's here. Shabbat Shalom, Jackie. Sandra and Paul. Shabbat Shalom. Ray and Linda. Jill, Norman, and Joyce. Shabbat Shalom, Joyce, and Norman and Jill. And that's it for now. Helen Bendelson echoes. Helen, Shabbat Shalom to you, and Andrew and Zoe as well. I don't know if you're all around the screen, so we cannot really tell, but Shabbat Shalom to the ganze Mishpocha anyway. Okay, so we are going to start our evening service, Erev Shabbat, Erev Simchat Torah, on page 422 in your prayer books, 422. In the spirit of our ancient tradition, which unites and sanctifies the house of Israel in all lands and ages, we welcome the Sabbath and the festival of Shmini Atzeret Simchat Torah by kindling these lights. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו להדליק נר של שבת ויום טוב. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe, for keeping us alive, sustaining us, and enabling us to reach this season. And let us say, Amen. So I can see that Ellen has added Andrew's dad and Zoe's grandfather and Ellen's father-in-law on Henry Mendelssohn to the Yortzeit list. I'll make a note so I won't forget, Ellen. Huh? We're on page 423. As we come to the end of a Sukkot season, we recall yet again how fleeting is our life. But we remember too that we are not made only of matter. We live in dimensions of spirit, in a world of sacred time. And now we look back upon the great creation of our people, the literature inspired by God we call Torah. For on this day we complete and begin again our cycle of reading from it and our exploration of its many meanings. Today we discover anew that its ways are ways of pleasantness and all its paths are peace. Today we rejoice in our heritage and pray that we may always be loyal to its teaching. And in the book of Joshua we read, Lo yamush sefer HaTorah hazeh mipicha, והגית בו יומם ולילה, למען תשמור לעשות ככל הכתוב בו, כי אז תצליח את דרכיך, ואז תשכיל. This book of the law shall not cease to be on your lips, but you shall ponder it day and night, so that you may carry out all that is written in it. Then you shall prosper and succeed. And if you have your prayer books with you, please let's read responsively Psalm 19. God's teaching is perfect, reviving the soul. God's word is unfailing, making wise the simple. God's precepts are right, delighting the mind. God's commandments are clear, enlightening the eyes. God's doctrine is pure, enduring forever. God's guidance is true and altogether just. Ben Bagbag אומר, הפר בה והפר בה, דחולה בה, ובה תחזה וסיב ובלבה, ומינת לה תזוע, שאין לך מידה טובה אמנה. Ben Bagbag says, turn it and turn it, for all is in it. Look into it, grow gray and old over it, and never turn away from it, for you cannot find a better way of life than this. וידבר משה את מועדי אדוני אל בני ישראל. And Moses proclaimed the divinely ordained festivals to the people of Israel. And please turn to page 426 for Psalm 92, Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbat. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, עלי יסור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידיך ארנן. מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. The righteous shall flourish like the palm, grow tall like the cedar of Lebanon. Planted in the house of the Eternal One, they shall flourish in the courts of our God. They shall bear fruit in old age, they shall ever be fresh and green, proclaiming that God is just, my rock, in whom there is no flaw. Page 427, 427. ברכו את אדוני המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. We praise you, Eternal One, our God, sovereign of the universe, whose word brings on the evening, whose wisdom opens heaven's gates, and whose understanding changes times and seasons, and whose will sets the stars in their courses in the sky. You make day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light. You make day pass and bring on the night, and separate day from night. You rule the host of heaven. We praise you, O God. Your word makes evening fall. Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amecha ahaveta, Amecha ahaveta, Torah u'mitzvot, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו, ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו, ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגי יומם ולילה, נגי יומם ולילה. ועבד אל תסור, ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד, ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. page 429. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך, בכל לבביך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ובשורבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם. All this we hold to be true and sure, you alone, eternal one, are our God, and we are Israeli people. You have freed us from our oppressors and delivered us from tyrants. You led us out of Egypt forever to serve you in freedom. When we witnessed your power, we praised your name and gave thanks. Willingly we accepted your rule, then full of joy we sang together. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות, אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות, אוסף אלה, אדוני ימלא לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלא לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. Grant, eternal God, that we may lie down in peace, and let us rise up to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace, guide us with your wise counsel, and for your name's sake be our help. Shield us from sickness and war, from famine and distress, and keep us from wrongdoing. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, for you are our guardian and deliverer, a gracious and merciful God. Guard our going out and our coming in, that now and always we may have life and peace. We praise you, O God. May your sheltering peace descend on us and all who dwell on earth. We are on page 431, 431. אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. We praise you, Eternal One, our God and God of ancestors, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, of Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah, great and mighty, awesome and exalted God. You deal kindly with us and embrace us all. You remember the faithfulness of our ancestors, and in love bring redemption to their children's children for the sake of your name. You are our sovereign and helper, our redeemer and shield. We praise you, O God, shield of Abraham and protector of Sarah. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיים את אימתה, רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מזריע השמש ומוריד הטל. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לה, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיע ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים. קדוש אתה ונורא שמך, ואין לנו אלוה מבלעדיך, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. On page 433. You have given us a special task among the peoples. In your love and favor, you have sanctified us by your commandments, drawn us near to your service, and charged us to make known your great and holy name. In your love, eternal one, our God, you have given us Sabbath of rest, feast of joys, and seasons of gladness, among them this Sabbath day and this festival of Shmini Atzeret, Simchat Torah, season of our gladness, Chag השמיני חג העצרת הזה, זמן שמחתנו, to unite us in worship and in remembrance of the Exodus from Egypt. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, יעלה ויבוא וייזכר זיכרוננו, וזיכרון כל עמך בית ישראל, לפניך לטובה ולברכה, לחיים ולשלום. ביום השמיני חג העצרת הזה, זוכנו אדוני אלוהינו בו לטובה. This day remember us for well-being. ופתקנו בו לברכה, bless us with your presence. והושיענו בו לחיים, grant us continued life. Amen. Grant, eternal God, that our observance of the festivals may bring us blessing, happiness, and joy. Sanctify us by your commandments, and make us loyal to your teaching. Satisfy us with your goodness, gladden us with your salvation, and purify our hearts to serve you in truth. And grant, eternal God, that the joy of the Sabbath and the happiness of the festivals may be with us always. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat, ve'Israel ve'Hazmanim. We praise you, O God, you hallow the Sabbath, Israel, and the festivals. רצי אדוני אלוהינו, בעמך ישראל, ותפילתם באהבה תקבל, ותהי לרצון תמיד עבודת ישראל, עמך ישראל עמך, ברוך אתה אדוני שאותך לבדך בעירה נעבוד, נעבוד, נעבוד. We give thanks that you, Eternal One, are our God, as you were the God of ancestors. You are the rock of our life, the power that shields us in every age. We thank and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your keeping, for the signs of your presence we encounter every day, and for your wondrous gifts at all times, morning, noon, and night. We praise you, O God, source of goodness, to whom our thanks are due. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לבחר את עמך ישראל, בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. ברוך אתה אדוני, עושה השלום. We praise you, O God, the source of peace. So let's take a few moments to understand exactly what this blessing says. Baruch atah Adonai oseh hashalom, who makes peace. And the translation here is the source of peace. So I've always been very puzzled by this blessing, because God makes peace, and yet there's not many peaceful moments in the world. So I think there's a dynamic relationship between us who pray tonight and every Shabbat and every festival. When we say these blessings, when we say these words, we actually engage with this peace that comes from directing our thoughts towards God, and also towards what makes us a community, having the same text, having the same prayers, singing the same songs, and we take peace and comfort in this reality. So may the Most High, source of perfect peace, grant peace to us, to all Israel, and to all humanity. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל בני אדם. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל בני אדם. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach. So there's something we won't be able to do tomorrow in the sanctuary, which is to open the scroll and to look at the scroll and to roll back the scroll to make it ready for the book of Genesis that we are going to start, of course, tomorrow, the first few verses. But Shabbat Bereshit is next week, and Bereshit is, of course, the first verse, the first word of the Torah. So before I'm doing my little Dvar Torah for tonight, I wanted to share with you something that NPLS has organized, and I think it's really brilliant. So I'm going to share it with you now. And it's not that long, it's 4 or 5 minutes, and it shows the scroll being scrolled back. Okay, I'm just going to make sure that I need to share computer sound. I think you can all see that. And okay, so
share computer
brace yourself
sound.
for the rolling back of a scroll. I think you can all see that. And okay, so
share computer
brace yourself
sound.
for the rolling back of a scroll. I think you can all see that. And okay, so
share computer
brace yourself
sound.
for the rolling back of a scroll. I think you can all see that. And okay, so
share computer
brace yourself
sound.
for the rolling back of a scroll. And okay, so
Share computer sound.
Okay, so there was a bit of with the music. Sorry about that. I turned off everything I could. Anyway, so I think it's nice to at least to be able to see it and to see the different places and to see also that The scroll is actually 1 unit, and the longer version is over 10 minutes. So it's a shortened version with highlights on the main passages. So you can see that sometimes the scribes, the sofrim, have actually changed a bit, the layout of the column to make it relevant. Right. A few words about Simchat Torah now. So as I said, as we're waiting in the waiting room all together, Shmini Atzeret and Simchat Torah are 2 festivals that conclude the festival of Sukkot. In Israel and among progressive Jews, these 2 festivals are combined into one. More traditional Jews outside Israel celebrate 2 days. Shmini Atzeret, which means the 8th day of assembly, is already mentioned in the Torah. Its function is not very clear, but when the temple was still standing, it seems that it was a day of cleansing the altar in the temple. Of course, it became obsolete after 70 CE, when the temple was destroyed. But it is the start of a rainy season in Israel, which explains why on this day we add in V'Amidah, in V'Amidah, a prayer for the rain, which is said until Pesach. We say from Shmini Atzeret until Pesach, Mashiva Ruach Umorida Gashem, you cause the wind to blow and the rain to fall. And this blessing is said during the entire winter. In the summer, which starts after Pesach, according to the rabbis who actually put all this together, we say Morid Hatal, you cause the dew to descend. So in our prayer book, both blessings are combined into one, as the cycle of rain and dew is very different in our country, to say the least. Simchat Torah is a later addition, and probably from the Middle Ages only. Simchat Torah means the joy of Torah, and on this day we finish the reading of the book of Deuteronomy and we start the book of Genesis. And it's also the occasion when we invite people to say the last blessing over the Torah reading at the end of Deuteronomy and the first blessing of Genesis. So we call them Chatan Torah or Kalat Torah, so which is the bride of a groom of Torah for the end of Deuteronomy, and we call them Chatan Bereshit or Kalat Bereshit, the bride and the groom of Bereshit. The message of Simchat Torah is very, very clear. It's the centrality of Torah in Jewish life. And I suppose that they were brought together because both festivals mark the end and the beginning of a cycle. And that very fact that we are able to end something and to start something anew is a cause for joy. End of a cycle, beginning of a new one. And this awareness comes at the conclusion of the festival of Sukkot. Sukkot, remember, Sukkot is the festival of impermanence, but also a festival that celebrates hospitality under the Sukkah. The 4th blessing of the Shema, which we just sang together, which appears only in the evening, we say, the Ashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, grant eternal God that you may lie down in peace, is concluded by the following blessing, Baruch Atah Adonai, Hapores Sukkot Shalom, Aleinu v'al kol Israel v'al kol Yoshvei Tevel. Blessed are you, eternal our God. You spread your Sukkot Shalom, which in our prayer book is translated as sheltering peace, on us, on all Israel, and on all who live on earth. Sukkot has therefore a universal dimension, but Sukkot is also a call to action. And I would like to ask Vince Daly, to come and to talk to us about something specific we can actually do on Sukkot. Vince, it's over to you now.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach. As Renee has explained, we're not only beginning Simchat Torah, we're also coming to the end of Sukkot. Traditionally, Sukkot's associated with hospitality, inviting guests, and sometimes the guests might be strangers, not just friends and family, inviting guests to share the shelter of our Sukkah But this year, given the very wet start to October and the restrictions on social mingling, sharing a sukkah with anybody has been a bit of a challenge. There are other ways to show hospitality. Refugees fleeing conflict or persecution are sorely in need of hospitality. And within this group of refugees, the plight of unaccompanied child refugees, children trying to make their way to safety without adult support, is particularly heartbreaking. Some of these child refugees have close family in the UK, maybe a sibling, a brother, a sister, or an aunt, an uncle, grandparents maybe. And the charity Safe Passage has been working to locate such children and help them join their UK-based family members. Under EU law, child refugees have had a legal right to seek refuge in the country where their close family members have been granted residence. But this legal right to reunite with their family will disappear after the 31st of December as a consequence of Brexit. The UK government has drafted an immigration bill to replace EU law, but the draft immigration bill does not include any such legal right to family reunion. Only this week, the House of Lords have voted in favour of an amendment to this bill, an amendment that would continue the legal right to family reunion for child refugees. But this amendment will not become law unless the House of Commons also votes in favour. So, in the spirit of Sukkot hospitality, you can support these refugee children by sending an email to your MP, asking him or her to vote in favour of the family reunion amendment to the immigration bill. That's not very difficult to do because Safe Passage have made it very easy for you to do this with a web page that not only suggests some points that you might make, but also sends your finished message off to the correct MP on the basis of your postcode. You need to include your postal address because many MPs will otherwise not read email messages. And in fact, I'm advised that MPs have agreed amongst themselves that they won't recognise messages that come to them without an address because they should only be paying attention to their own constituents. So please include your postal address. It doesn't take long to do this. It took me 5-10 minutes at most. And it shows your MP that she or he has constituents who do not support the government's hostile environment for those seeking refuge, shelter, hospitality in the UK. Perhaps your own MP is a member of the Conservative Party, which currently forms the government. But don't assume that even if they always vote with the government, don't assume they always agree fundamentally with every aspect of government policy. For example, David Simmonds, who is Conservative MP for Ruislip, Northwood and Pinner, has recently written an article published in Conservative Home, an online magazine of the Conservative Party, this article is very supportive of refugee resettlement schemes on practical grounds as well as moral grounds. You can see the article online. You just have to Google David Simmonds, Simmonds, Conservative Home, and that'll take you to his article. Might give you some idea of points you would make, particularly if your MP is in the Conservative Party. However, the House of Commons are going to be voting on this next week, we think. Maybe the week after, but it could be this week coming on us now. So we must act swiftly. And as you may have seen already, in our KLS newsletter, there is a link to the web page that will help you write to your MP. I won't try and read out that link to you here live, but you can look in the KLS newsletter, or if you don't have access to it, put something in the chat line or write to me. One way or the other, we'll get the we'll get the web link to you. Thanks for listening. and Chag Sameach.
Thank you, Vince. Thank you. I think it's very important that as a community we show our support and care for the most vulnerable among us, especially children, and think about these kids who are left alone on the other side of the channel without family. And I think just the very thought of these kids, sorry, and the very thought of these kids left alone and subject to trafficking and all these nasty things should actually encourage us from on moral ground. It's not being a partisan to do that. I really want to emphasize it. It's not a partisan decision to make. It's really a moral decision to make. And as Jews, I think it's our duty to do so. Thank you, Vince, and I hope that your call will be heard by many of our congregants. Before we continue, I wanted to announce a few things that, yes, Philip, you're right. It's about compassion. Absolutely, compassion. So some announcements. So again, I will direct you to the wonderful newsletter that Craig does every week. I just wanted to highlight a few things. So of course, tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Beitenu is meeting online tomorrow. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. Book Crushers will discuss Children of the Ghetto by Israel Zangwill. And our service, Simchat Torah morning service, will be from the synagogue at 11:15, followed by a kiddush on Zoom. So on Sunday, the 11th of October at 2 p.m., there will be a liberal Judaism conversation with 4 LG rabbis discussing the changes on mixed faith weddings announced last Sunday. So if you want to listen to these 4 rabbis, please, by all means, go. I think it will be on their Facebook and Twitter account, LJ Twitter account. So I've been asked by Jewish News to comment. So there's a podcast which is also on our Twitter where they ask me a few questions about these changes. Tuesday, 13th at 8 p.m. Exploring Judaism, and Thursday evening at 8 p.m. Hebrew for Beginners, which is taught by Dominic Scholtes. And I've been invited on Wednesday evening to go to All Saints in Kingston to discuss how COVID-19 has affected different people, different communities, and different age groups. So this will be a live event. So if you want to come, it's at 6, last an hour. So bring your mask, obviously. So next week, Sandra Weber will lead the Friday evening service. What else? Oh, there's a lot. So look at the newsletter. We have Rosie Whitehouse coming to talk about her book, The People on the Beach, Journeys to Freedom After the Holocaust. She will come to talk to us Monday, the 9th of November at 7:30. What else? So the rest I'm not going to go into much details. You can find all these information on the newsletter. I wanted also to emphasize the FADA, I don't know how to pronounce it, Faith Against Domestic Abuse Awareness Week, which will be at the end of the month. As you know, sadly, with lockdown, domestic abuse has risen, has reached heights that were unheard of. So we needed to support this charity that raises awareness of domestic abuse, even within our community. And Thursday, oh no, so that was on the 8th of November. Okay, so have a look, have a look on the newsletter, and you'll find all the information. And again, thanks to Craig for putting this newsletter, very comprehensive newsletter with all these details. Okay, so let's conclude our service. Yeah, I can see some names on the Facebook comment feed, and Shabbat Shalom to you all, and Chag Sameach. It's great to have so many of you coming from, yeah, of course, KLS, but we also have people from Wessex, people from Norfolk, and beyond. We have Jane is here, Jane in the West Country. Shabbat Shalom to you all. It's really, I mean, I just see names, but I know that you're here. So, okay, we conclude our service on page 591. Yes. Baruch Adonai Leolam, Amen ve'Amen. Baruch Adonai Elohim Elohei Yisrael, Oseh Niflaot Levado, Uvaruch Shem Kevodo Leolam, Ve'yimalech Kevodo et Kol Haaretz, Amen ve'Amen. The eternal God shall rule over all the earth. On that day, the eternal God shall be one, and known to be one. May your love, O God, rest upon us, as we rest our hope in you. All the nations that you have made shall come and bow down before you and honor your name. Let God be praised by day, let God be praised by night, let God be praised when we lie down, let God be praised when we rise up. Avinu שבשמיים, יחד שמך וקיים מלכותך תמיד, ומלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. אדוני מלך, אדוני מלך, אדוני ימלוך, לעולם ועד. It is hard to feel serene when our world is not complete, when those who once brought wholeness to our life have gone. Yet in the emptiness the passing leaves behind, we are not alone. For we have the companionship of the living, and even our loved ones who have died live on in our hearts. For what they were is part of what we have become. We honor them best when we live as they would wish, responsibly and happily, even in the shadow of our loss, and so draw closer to the source of life, in whom every life finds meaning, purpose, and hope. So I just wanted to announce first that Anna Bogod, Michael Bogod's wife, passed away early this week. We haven't got any details for the funeral, but it will be in Kingston crematorium. On this Shabbat, we remember Henry Mendelssohn, the father of Andrew Mendelssohn and the grandfather of Zoe Mendelssohn. And we also remember, where's my list now? Sorry, I need to find. We have two other names, but I don't know them by heart. Okay, we remember on this Shabbat David Woda, the partner of Carol Tomlin, and Toba Kerbel, the sister of Francis Leifer. Zichronam Livracha. May the memory be a blessing for us. As we say together, we are on page 524. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ביחתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל בני אדם ואמרו אמן. So let's finish now with Adon Olam on page 525. 525. אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נשא וחפשו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, ואחרי ככלות הכל, לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה, והוא אחד ואין שני, להמשילו להכבירה, בלי ראשית בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה, והוא אלי וחי גואלי, וצור חבלי בעת צרה, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת כוסי ביום אקחה, בידו אפקיד רוחי, בעת תישן והעירה, ועם רוחי גוויעתי, אדוני לי ולא יירא. ברוך אתה בבואך, וברוך אתה בצאתך. Blessed may you be when you're coming, and blessed may you be when you go out. Adonai yishmor tzedtecha uvoecha, me'ata ve'ad olam. May the eternal God guard you going out, and you coming in, now and always. Shabbat Shalom, and Chag Sameach. And we will do now the Kiddush for Simchat Torah. And it's on page 573. 573. So remember, it's a different text because it's a Chag Kiddush. Okay. With this symbol of joy, we celebrate the completion of a cycle and the beginning of another, of reading Torah and listening to its wisdom. May our celebration make us eager to go on studying our heritage and to use what we learn in the service of humanity. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri agafein. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher בחר בנו מכל עם, וקרבנו לעבודתו, וקידשנו במצוותיו, ותיתן לנו אדוני אלוהינו, באהבה שבתות למנוחה, ומועדים לשמחה, חגים וזמנים לששון, את יום השבת הזה, ואת יום השמיני חג עצרת הזה, זמן שמחתנו, מקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים, כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קרבת לעבודתך, ושבת ומועדי קודשך, באהבה וברצון, בשמחה ובששון, הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת וישראל, והזמנים. Amen. L'chaim, to life. We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe, that you have kept us alive, sustained us, and enabled us to reach these seasons. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Right. I've always been told when I was a kid, don't speak with a mouth full. So, Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach, and I'll see you in the morning. Bye-bye, guys. Love you.